Saturday, August 17th, Vancouver. We were all waiting for the news as to when the Warramoo will be off the dry dock and ready to sail. Mark is getting better. I have booked Victoria for Tuesday, the 20th. Mark is laying in bed all day as usual, spending much time writing. Reporters have been anxious to meet and interview him, and I urged it. He finally said, if they'll excuse my bed, show them up. The quartet of bright young English journalists came up. They all had a good time and made much of the last interview with Mark Twain in America, as it was. Mark was in excellent spirits. His throat is better. Monday, August 19th. We are at Vancouver still, and the smoke is as firmly fixed as we are in the town. It is bad. Mark has not been very cheerful today. He doesn't get his voice back. He and I took a walk about the streets, and he seemed discouraged. I think on account of Mrs. Clemens' dread of the long voyage, and because of the unfavorable stories we have heard of the Warramoo. We leave Vancouver and hosts of new friends for Victoria, BC, and then we part. That will not be easy, for we are all very happy. It makes my heart ache to see Mark so downhearted after such continued success as he has had. On August 20th, the boat for Victoria arrived half an hour late. We all hurried to get on board, only to be told by the captain that he had 180 tons of freight to discharge and that it would be 4 o'clock before we left. This lost our Victoria engagement, which I was obliged to postpone by telegraph. Mark was not in condition to relish this news, and as he stood on the wharf after the ladies had gone aboard, he took occasion to tell the captain in very plain and unpious language his opinion of a passenger-carrying company that, for a few extra dollars, would violate their contract and obligations to the public. They were a lot of damn somethings and deserved the penitentiary. The captain listened without response, but he got very red in the face. It seems the ladies had overheard the loud talk. Soon after Mark joined them, he came to me and asked if I wouldn't see that captain and apologize for his unmanly abuse and see if any possible restitution could be made. I did so, and the captain and Mark became quite friends. We left Vancouver on the Charmer at 6 o'clock, arriving in Victoria a little after midnight. Wednesday, August 21st, Victoria, BC. The Dryad. Mark has been in bed all day, and he doesn't seem to get strength. He smokes constantly, and I fear too much also. Still, he may stand it. Physicians say it will eventually kill him. We had a good audience. Lord and Lady Aberdeen were in the box, came back on stage after the lecture and said many very nice things about the entertainment, offering to write to friends in Australia about it. Mark's voice began strong but showed fatigue toward the last. His audience, which was one of the most appreciative he'd ever had, was in great sympathy with him as they realized the effort he was obliged to make, owing to his hoarseness. The telegram from Mr. George McLean Brown says the Warramoo will sail at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. This is the last appearance of Mark Twain in America for more than a year. I know, and I much fear the very last, for it doesn't seem possible that his physical strength can hold out. After the lecture tonight, he expected to visit a club with Mr. Campbell, who did not come around. He and I, therefore, went out for a walk. He was tired and feeble, but did not want to go back to the hotel. He was nervous and weak and disappointed, for he had expected to meet and entertain a lot of gentlemen. He and I are alike in one respect. We don't relish disappointment. Thursday, August 22nd. We are in Victoria yet. The blessed tie that binds seems to be drawing tighter and tighter as the time for our final separation approaches. We shall never be happier in any combination, and Mrs. Clemens is the great magnet. What a noble woman she is. It is Mark Twain's wife which makes his works so great. She edits everything and brings purity, dignity, and sweetness to his writings. In Joan of Arc, I see Mrs. Clemens as much as Mark Twain. Friday, August 23rd, Victoria. Mark and I were out all day getting books, cigars, and tobacco. We bought 3,000 Manila cheroots, thinking that with 4 pounds of Durham smoking tobacco, he could make the 3,000 cheroots last 4 weeks. If perpetual smoking ever kills a man, I don't see how Mark Twain can expect to escape. He and Mrs. Clemens, an old friend of Mark's, and his wife, now living near here, went for a drive and were out most of the day. This is remarkable for him. I never knew him to do such a thing before. The Warramoo arrived about 1 o'clock. We all went on board and lunched together for the last time. Mrs. Clemens is disappointed in the ship. The whole thing looks discouraging, and our hearts are almost broken with sympathy for her. She tells me she's going to brave it through, for she must do it. It's for her children. Our party got out on the deck of the Warramoo, and Mr. W.D. Chase, a passenger, took a snapshot of our quintet. Then wife and I went ashore, and the old ship started across the Pacific Ocean with 3 of our most beloved friends on board. We waved to one another as long as they kept in sight. Before sailing, Mark Twain wrote a letter to the editor of the San Francisco Examiner, from which I quote, "Now that I reflect, perhaps it's a little immodest in me to talk about paying my debts when by my own confession I am blandly getting ready to unload them on the whole English-speaking world. I didn't think of that. Well, no matter, as long as they are paid. Lecturing is gymnastics, chest expander, medicine, mind healer, blues destroyer, and all in one. I am twice as well as I was when I started out. I've gained 9 pounds in 28 days and expect to weigh 600 before January. Haven't had a blue day in all the 28. My wife and daughter are accumulating health and strength and flesh nearly as fast as I am. When we reach home 2 years hence, I think we can exhibit as freaks." Mark Twain, Vancouver, B.C., August 15th, 1895.